guys, Andy Johnson, brand manager, Western Star Trucks, and welcome to Western Star Tough Talk, a new video podcast series that we put together focused solely on the all-new 49X and the people who were responsible for bringing it to market. So I think it's going to be a great time. It's a lot of fun. Let's get to it. And welcome to the inaugural edition of Western Star Tough Talk. We are going to start this off where a lot of people think the truck design process starts, with some of our most stylish and coolest guys you'll ever meet at Daimler Trucks North America. But first, let me introduce your hosts. Your hosts are Greg Trinan from our marketing group. Greg, how you doing?
Doing great, Andy. How are you?
Great to have you here. I think looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to get this kicked off. This is going to be great.
This is going to be great. And all the way from Fort Mill, South Carolina, Mike Edge Partington, a.k.a. Dr. Star. Mike?
Andy, absolute pleasure. It was worth the 3,000-mile flight.
We got it. He's Canadian. It's okay. We got it. So, Mike, welcome. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to the color you bring to these always. So please don't hold back.
I won't.
And we're getting to our guests today. Actually, from our design center, we've got Martin Kreidel.
Hello.
Martin, welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here. And Jeff Kottner.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Always, Jeff. And someone who's always a great pleasure to have on any of our videos at Western Star is Samantha Parlier.
I might be Andy's boss. That was a really nice introduction, but thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're definitely my boss, but you are also the head of the marketing or the vocational marketing group, and product group. So always a valuable asset to have here, and you never hold back. So please don't. So with that, Greg, take it.
Awesome. Thank you, Andy. So, we talked about having, design be one of our first, topics. But I guess one of the first things, as we get into this, Martin and Jeff, how do you talk a little bit about your background? Like, how did you get into truck design? And because that sounds, some of the other projects I've worked on with some of your guys' team is I'm really, it's awesome to work with you guys, and seeing the work you guys put out is fantastic. So how do you guys get started in that type of role?
I would say that most people in automotive design or truck design start as a child. It starts at 4, 5.
Hot Wheels.
With Hot Wheels,
Yeah.
all the stuff, the normal boy stuff.
Girls like it too.
No, girls too.
Barbie camper.
And I remember drawing cars when I was 4.
Yeah.
My dad encouraged it, which was cool. But you don't really know it's a thing. You know, can I do this for real? How does this turn into a job? And I was lucky enough to have that guidance, in high school and get, the school is always the thing. How do I end up at the right school that gets me to do this for a living? But it starts very much early on. I knew the name of every car on the road. I could spot a car from 100 yards away at the age of 6, and tell you what brand it was and what year it was. And so, for me, it was always there, but then it is getting into the right school. Yeah, how was it for you, Martin?
Yeah, with me it started a little bit later. At 4, I was not sketching cars yet. But yeah, I always was fascinated by cars and trucks. And I'm coming from a rural area, so I was also into trucks and fascinated from the technique. I started also sketching some cars, but I was not really good at that, I have to admit.
So in kind of thinking through that, and then thinking about the start of this project, knowing that we wanted to build a best-in-class new Western Star product from the ground up, there's a lot of passion from our customers and a lot of people. Western Star is known for its heritage and its tough, great looks, right? So how did we, get started in trying to maybe incorporate that and then bringing that look forward? What are some of the things that got you guys started when you were conceptualizing the design for the 49X?
Yeah, one thing, if you start a new project, especially for this brand, you have to understand the brand.
Yeah.
So
It starts with the soul of the brand.
I didn't get an interview.
It started.
We didn't know you were the guy. Man.
He's the
we didn't know.
You should have
Edge
told
believes
us.
that
somebody
he's the soul
needs
of
to
the
tell
brand.
me these things. When I started with the company, we were just kind of getting going on this project, and I didn't even know what Western Star brand was about. I understood they make trucks. I knew about it. I've seen the truck shows. But for me, it was important to really dive into what makes Western Star, and talk to as many people as I could, current people, people out in the field, people that have opinions against it. What are those? Why? You know, what does it want to be? And then start to imagine, you know, what makes it. You know, so that's kind of the foundation, right? But then, you know, what you see is, okay, maybe people are stuck on what it is today, right? And as a design team, we're not okay with that. So we, you know, we pride ourselves in really digging into having a vision for what it could be, right? And, you know, I would say we kind of, we bounce off our thoughts on what that could be to our colleagues, and we're not in a bubble, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we've got to believe it, because then as you're creating sketches or models, it helps to make decisions on what feels right if you have that sort of belief in what makes Western Star Western Star.
One thing that's always inspired me was the way you describe what the soul of the brand is. So if you could,
Sure.
and I don't think that Mike Edge has heard it. So
I can't wait for the eye rolling.
No, it's not. I think
There's
this is
no
my
eye rolling here.
My prediction is you're going to describe it, and I have a series of words that I think Mike is going to say. If I had an envelope, I would
Cool.
write them down and seal it and see if he says it. But I want you to describe it, and then I
Sure.
want to hear how Mike feels about that.
Before I describe it, you have to realize that you may not agree exactly with what we believe it to be, but it ends up that this comes from that. So that's the results of this process. So if you like that, then, you know, it works, right?
Yes.
So what I heard when I did my Q&A to anybody involved with the brand was, you know, that it's tough and it's durable and it's the toughest jobs, and you really have to count on it, and you can't be let down. And I'm like, so okay, so Western Star, you know, tell me the jobs like lumber and like these Arctic situations and quarries and mines and all this sort of stuff that's dangerous, really dangerous, right? So for me, it felt like Western Star was this trusted partner for the person that's out there doing these amazingly difficult jobs, and you're going to put your life in the hands of this partner. You're going to count on this partner with your core being, right? So Western Star is almost like a superhero that's there for you through every single tough job that you find yourself doing. And so no matter what happens, this truck really has to deliver. Because sometimes you're out there so far that you don't even have a signal for your phone. So if this thing breaks down, it's life and death. So Western Star has to be that trusted partner that you can count on no matter what. So when we're designing it, we take that into mind. Like how do we create something that gives that off, feels that way, communicates that, and actually delivers on that promise as a brand.
Holy.
That's it. You know what? Doesn't that make you like? Do you? What do you think, Mike? How does it?
I see the goosebumps.
Right?
Goosebumps, you know, yeah.
What
Impressive.
I would have written down in my envelope is like, I would have probably said holy but I would have followed it up with, you nailed it.
Yes, very
Because you
much so.
did. That's exactly how we see our customers.
That's a Western Star customer
That's a
right
Western
there.
Star customer.
Definitely.
So then tell us a little bit about that very next step. So you did those interviews, and then you guys do something that I think is standard process for design, but for those of us that are not designers, maybe might be dorkier things like mechanical engineers or ground and pound Mike Edge over there. I don't know what he calls himself most of the time. And yep. Greg, in marketing, you guys do a really interesting first step after those interviews. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, I would say, we want to capture the spirit of that thinking, right? So we look at imagery, anything that we feel like fits that mission statement. You can grab, photographs of those kind of environments that I described. You can photographs of human beings that find themselves in those regions or those areas doing those jobs, and the busted knuckles and the like grit and sort of age, and but then there's a coolness to that person. The cool comes from the grit and the age, and there's character. You think about things that are timeless, right, and have like ultimate authenticity to them, that have this feeling of a timelessness, maybe even of craftsmanship, something that's made by hand and forged, and it lasts for 200 years. And so we just let's grab anything that sort of feels like it would really be there for you no matter what happened. Mm-hmm. And also we sort of look at stuff that's not necessarily pristine either. There's a little bit of charm and beauty to something that's weathered and has a lot of
Sounds
character.
like Beauty and
to
the
it.
Beast or something like that you're saying here.
Well, I mean,
feel
look at this
like
beast, so yeah.
The way
Yeah.
you're looking at Jeff is the way I feel about him. I'm like, I will follow you anywhere.
Yeah,
with that
right.
inspiration.
Yeah,
And I see
exactly.
Mike looking at you with this, like, I hope the
I'm
camera.
converting this man.
You
Yeah.
are.
That's
Well,
good.
well, I wouldn't say you're converting me. I'm already
You're already there. You're
but,
like, this guy gets it. All
It's
right.
nice to hear these comments, let me tell you.
Yeah, what do you
Yeah.
think, Martin? So, the brainstorming phase, like brand and
Yeah, I think the designers have to understand what the brand is standing for, and Jeff explained it very well. And it's not just words, it's to get the feeling. And that's also the reason why we sent them to the customers and sent them to Canada to explore how do the drivers experience the truck, how do they work, and to get the feeling, to be there and to work hard and what they need and what they feel.
Right.
yeah. So these images that I mentioned, we kind of we compose them together and create image boards or mood boards, if you will, that they become ways of sparking people to feel it instantly when they see it. So that when we start to create sketches and concepts, we can always refer back to that. Remember the spirit of the brand that we wanted to say, this is what's motivating us to promote these particular concepts. So that becomes the catalyst to sort of kick it all off.
We're talking a lot of touchy-feely stuff as well, but I want to kind of steer it back to something Edge would appreciate, and getting back to that toughness. What are some of the things from that design, or the first things that went into it that maintained that authenticity of the Western Star brand? There's a lot of metal and shine and toughness. What are some of the things that went into that?
Well, because of what we're asking these trucks to do, because of this mission that we've defined, we realize performance is really what's key for this particular type of truck. It's not necessarily that you get the most beautiful shape is the primary goal, but actually that shape performs.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a challenge. As designers, we know we can make just about any shape out of plastic, but that doesn't feel right for Western Star. So when you make things out of stamped stainless steel, you're limited on what you can do, and you've got all these different configurations for the grill depending on PTO or raised cab or this sort of thing. So it becomes more of a building block strategy, right? So we wanted to create shapes that would look good and look beautiful, even made out of these very authentic materials, because at the end of the day, it was this authenticity trumped making the perfect styled shape that we would, do if we can make it out of plastic.
I did see Dr. Star throw up in his mouth a little bit when you said plastic, and so I was glad you brought it back around.
I realize
You
it's
caught that,
sacrilegious,
did ya?
Yeah. I mean, not everything could be made out of stamped stainless, but the things that matter, right, are the ones we really made sure that happened. And also, if it's a touch point or a performance part that really has to take abuse, then it becomes critical that the material choice be correct, right? Be the right one for the brand.
So you talked about sketches. So you do this mood board, which I've seen the mood board, and it's fantastic. I'll get you a copy, Edge, for your office area, because
Thank you.
it's pretty inspirational.
Okay.
Have it in my office, actually.
All right.
Believe it or not. And then what? Then you start sketching? And how does it?
Yeah. So, and some of sketching's kind of happening the whole time, really, while we're doing this research, while we're doing we don't wait to have the perfect story to sketch, because sometimes sketch will drive the story.
Would you ever wake up at 3 a.m. and sketch something?
Sometimes, yeah, or you're in a meeting, or you're
Don't
on
you
a
do that? I'll wake
Yeah.
up. Whoa, write that down.
I do that.
Sometimes the best
There you
sketches come when you're not trying. Honestly,
I
when
agree.
your
Like
subconscious is, occupied and you just are like letting it happen, that's when good things happen, right? So, sketching's happening at a very loose, abstract way at first. Nothing really super tight or on package yet. We're trying to get a feeling. We talk a lot about feelings.
Feelings, tough,
feel
tough.
right?
They're tough feelings.
Tough. This is tough talk with.
This is tough talk about tough feelings. And, yeah. So we like to shotgun approach it first. We'll do like just fill the wall. How about you guys fill the wall over the next week? If you've got something you want to say it. And meanwhile, this brand story is kind of culminating and turning into something, and then at some point things align, right? That's when we start to encourage what we see.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that feels right. Do that. Do more of that. Not this. Do that.
And I think, it seems like one of those areas that came together was kind of the design with the trench style low roof with the hood and kind of the way that the lines flow together. Maybe talk a little bit about how that came together.
You want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, if you design a new product, you have to understand the purpose, the functionality, because otherwise it's only becoming styling. So you have what do I need? What is expected?
Yeah.
Especially with the roof, you needed a good access to the cabin. But on the other hand, also a low roof for the
crane,
for the body,
all the body stuff, right? Yeah, the lines. So that's a good question. Believe it or not, the roof lines and the hood top lines came quite late.
Yeah.
We started more with, I would say, full kind of muscular, strong, confident-looking forms, right? The fender top was always really sharp like that. That we felt like that really communicated strength and confidence, and that's what the projection is of this trusted partner, right? But over time, I realized, that language that we established on the fender. I'm looking at the fender. Needed to be balanced elsewhere. That's the thing as a designer. You have to see if you can get the feeling to happen kind of overall. It shouldn't just be like, this is really interesting, but the rest of it has got its own thing going on. So they're trying to get harmony of the whole. Yeah. So as we developed the fender, and the fender was really the driver, I would say, of the theme, that and the grill, we realized, okay, we need more of this kind of sharp, billeted, looking like it's been subtracted feeling on more of the truck, and that's when the roof and hood top happened.
When you're doing this, you're having these crazy thoughts at 3 in the morning.
Crazy thoughts.
Tell it like it is, Edge.
No, do you ever think of what it takes to I'm gonna just go for the hood. Do you care what it would take for the mold or however a vendor would have to build that, or you're not at that stage? You're just all about the look.
I wish we could always just be about the look.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
Then you get.
Yeah, there's no such
that make
thing.
sense, that question?
That's what makes us, actually designers and not stylists, is that we have to constantly be aware of the manufacturing constraints, the packaging constraints, the cost targets, what's going on as far as vibration and that sort of thing. And sometimes it's aero and sometimes it's durability. You always have that in the back of your mind as a vehicle designer.
You probably start up here somewhere and then kind of.
I ask my team to kind of go for the clouds, right, at first, but they all know this stuff, the reality of it all. They're not, they know what's coming. But if I start with all those constraints up front and we start that way, you won't get something, great. You'll just get something okay. Yeah. So we start a little bit more in a dream state, a little bit more of a visionary view, knowing that at the end of the day, gravity is going to pull us back to something more, believable and palatable. But some of those challenges actually are what make the design great, because it's not just styling; it's actually solving a bunch of cross-functional problems that make for a great product.
So in terms of thinking, you talked about material and thinking that through as you're designing. One thing that really sticks out to me, and calling back to that Western Star heritage, is the amount of metal that's on the I want to say throw up the metal horns there, but with the grill and the mirrors, the air intake covers, is that something that you guys started off thinking about when in that design process? Because that's something that really stands out to me, that we didn't just use covered plastic.
Yeah, it's part of the brand identity to have this real metal parts. And we could also see this in the first sketches. And the key sketch we have chosen showed this massive metal grill, because that's something typical for Western Star. And we are the only OEM in the industry who has always this metal grill.
Yeah.
Other competitors don't have that.
And I would say too, we were very much listening to our strategy and marketing colleagues in this too. That was, the perception. We knew the perception was really important here. With new products, it's always a little scary for people that love today's product, and we wanted them to believe in it. You know what I mean? And we felt like some of these details that felt like they needed to be metal were ways to reassure people that this is in fact, true, honest Western Star like it's always been. It's nothing else. It's nothing to be fearful of. In fact, it's that and then some. So some of it is realizing the mission. The mission is to create something wonderful and great that also reassures everybody that we are in fact still the brand we've always been, and then some, right?
Glad to see that bezel still there, because you would have to answer to Sir Star.
Sir Star.
Star.
He's been knighted. He was knighted when the camera was on you guys.
No, really, you stand in front of this bad boy, and it's impressive. Even the grill and the wire mesh, you brought that all together, and then the bezel, and I'm so happy you've got that big fat W on the front, and because that is a signature piece of the whole truck.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think it's it's not just about calling back to that heritage. There is that functionality piece of it too. We know these trucks are going to be busting their ass out on the job site. There's going to be rocks and debris and different talk about snow plows, some of the road chemicals that are going to be thrown at it. We want to make sure that it's not the corrosion isn't going to be an issue, right?
Right.
We want it to withstand the test of time, to have it continue to look good over that, the long life of this truck.
Absolutely.
One of the things that actually, one of my favorite features of this truck is the dual stage LED headlights. We talked a lot, in some of, throughout the process of revealing this truck, the functionality of the headlights. The ability to melt ice, the light pattern, the impact resistance, but it's the design, the looks of that headlight are something that we haven't really talked about. So maybe talk a little about what went into that, maybe some of the input that went into that design as well.
Well, I don't want to be too gimmicky when it comes to Western Star. I feel like we want to be really straightforward, kind of simple, classically proportioned, but so, I mean, it's more of an honor of our heritage. We have these kind of dual units in each lamp today. And there's a sketch that's kind of flashing up here every once in a while that shows that lineage, right? Yeah. And so it was important to get the 2 units in there for us. And then we wanted something really just bold and simple from a daytime running light standpoint. And, because I think you got the heat element there. It's got a lot going on, those lines on the face, so we don't necessarily want to compete with all that. It all should just work together in harmony. And so the mission here was to create something very simple, iconic, very memorable, and then we chose this amber daytime running light because it just, for us, it gave it a little bit of a unique expression compared to some of the competition.
So that's one assembly, the headlight there?
Yeah.
It's one-stop shopping. If you break that, you buy the whole assembly.
That's correct. But LED technology is incredibly durable compared to halogens.
I'm talking about a moose coming out in front of you.
Well, yeah. So you're going to lose your fender, right, and your headlight if you hit a moose. But yeah, it's one assembly that's sub-assembled by the supplier. Good. Do you have any thoughts on the headlight, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge with the headlight was the de-icing, because this was new for us, where we didn't experience before, and the designers had to work closely with the supplier to get it done.
Yeah, that was a true team effort to get those lights the way they are. And shape-wise, of course, there's other things we wanted to do or propose, but they they were making it vulnerable somehow. They were making it not necessarily going to be able to perform to the level that it needed to do from a durability standpoint. So that's when you sort of back off a little bit and make something that's bulletproof, right? It's got to look good, but it also needs to be bulletproof, because that, as we said before, is kind of the mission of the brand. So that's kind of how we ended up.
So we've talked a lot about the exterior and the design that went into that, the soul that went into that. But I know that there was a lot of thought that went into the interior. We've spent some time talking about the experience of the operators on the job site, and the intention of giving them an interior that they're not going to want to leave. They're going to want to come to work and work in. What are some of the things you guys did from a design perspective? With the interior, from the materials to the placement of certain aspects of the interior.
Sure. So I would say that I imagine again the jobs that I talked about in the beginning. These really difficult, demanding jobs. I feel it's a very isolated situation, right, where it's kind of harsh. So the interior for us needed to be an escape from that, right? It needed to be a place where once you're inside, you feel very much like you're being taken care of. So the materials need to feel like special and a kind of warm, welcoming situation, right? We wanted the overall layout of the dash to be incredibly simple, to look very strong and very much like it can easily stand the test of time. But when we also talked a lot about craft and the kind of authenticity that I talked about on the exterior, we liked this idea of rawhide leather. Like a tool belt has very much a rough and tough, strong character to it that is going to last forever. So we honed in really quickly on how do we get that to happen, for the seats, for example, and the back wall material. And so we tried to find these materials that really had a very strong animal kind of print to it, and also had the right color to look like this rawhide look.
How about doors? I want to go there briefly. We talk about this cab being unique, firewall, doors, roof cap, back wall. What did you do to the doors to make it different? Anything there in particular?
Oh, the exterior of the door.
Yeah, exterior of the door. Yes.
Yeah.
Did it have to flow with the hood? Did you have to change anything on the door?
Sure. Yeah. So,
in case you haven't figured out, doors are a passion of Sir Star over here.
Sir Star.
It's
Sir
just
Star
one
loves a
element
door.
of this badass truck. I'm telling you.
Doors. So yes, we wanted a theme that went through the whole side of the vehicle, not just in the hood or just in the door. So we worked very hard to make sure that the theme of the door lines track through into the cowl and then into the hood, and actually end with the air intake. That was very intentional, and it's not easy to do that because trucks, they have a lot of tolerances that build up, and you want to make sure that this feels like it's really precise and integrated at the end of the day. You don't want to see the split lines. We want to see just the overall impression. And I would say for me, I liked the idea of this, like a really strong, almost tool-like key feeling. So that door section is keying into the hood and forming that air intake, and that integration is what gives the whole strength to the side of the truck.
It's pretty amazing, just thinking about styling and some of the other topics we'll be talking about in this podcast series, and just the design or the engineering. We talked a lot about engineering from the ground up and purpose built for vocational, and I think that is such a huge part of it, and all the stuff all the thought that went into that on every aspect of the truck is kind of what I'm passionate about talking to our customers about, and just looking at the truck holistically, right? We didn't just hone in on a few of the obvious aspects of the truck. It was the whole thing that we're looking at, making sure it all fits together with intention.
Yeah, so, we're talking about grills and metal and details, but yes, at the end of the day, that where we start in the design center is the overall presence
Yeah.
of the vehicle, the stance, the feeling, the proportion you want to have for the vehicle. The 100-yard read on the truck is what we're trying to communicate. The brand's the soul of the brand, and so the mission from that standpoint is we want that instant recognizable feeling that this is serious, this is solid, this is durable, this can handle anything you throw at it. And then you sort of peel back the layers and do all the details from there. But if it doesn't do that first read mission correctly, then the rest of it doesn't really matter. So we take a lot of time on that first phase, that first proportion phase. And we argue with each other a lot about that internally because we know it's so critical. And I can say that for me, we work on this for a couple of years or a few years, designing it and releasing it to our engineering colleagues, and then they develop it and take it to the road. And then one day it's driving by on Swan Island. It's real. It's not just a clay model in a design studio anymore. It's a shiny truck with the daytime running lights on. And that's when you get that sort of reassurance that, that 100-yard thing that we were shooting for, it paid off. It's real. And I love, that's my favorite moment right there, is when this thing's moving through space. And you see, the promise that we decided we needed to make is happening. So, yeah.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Just like when I'm helping a dealer spec a truck and then see it go by. I know exactly what you're
When it
saying.
shows up, you're like, wow, and your heart starts racing a little bit.
Racing.
Yeah. A little tear, maybe.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. I hear you.
It's not feeling so tough in here right now, Mike.
Yeah. Gosh.
Tough guys cry too.
Exactly.
Okay, with that, I think there's a lot of love in the room. We'll probably call it good, guys, that this was really fantastic. Great for the first edition of Tough Talk. I can't say thank you enough, you guys, all of you, for doing this. I think this is going to be an ongoing series, Greg, for sure.
For sure. This was great.
Before we go, I do want to ask, we want to start this thing called just like, what's your favorite feature? So what we ask you guys, of all our panelists, pick a feature of the truck. Maybe it doesn't have to be something that you see visibly or something that's very obvious, but what is something that you think is great and why? So, Martin, let's start with you.
Only one?
Well, I know, it's hard. One, I know, it's like choosing your favorite child, but...
Yeah, my favorite child is the air intake, because it's so iconic for this brand and makes the trucks look so different. And then we have the halo effect, which we didn't expect, but we did a good job on that. And it's the big differentiator to anybody else on the market.
I agree with that for sure. Jeff?
Well, I already kind of said it. For me, it's that the theme of the door into the hood area and this idea of interlocking it together all holistically, so that from far away the thing really looks like it's held together with that key kind of strength. And of course, part of that is the air intake, as Martin says. So I mean, for me, that theme is unique to everyone else. Everyone else does a grill too, but we don't have that from our competitors as far as how they do it.
This is awesome. Samantha, you want to weigh in on this? I know you've got lots of features.
I got a lot of favorites, but I'm gonna try and keep it relative to the topic today, which is the design and styling. And for me, believe it or not, I'm not that much about looks, and it's all about purpose and function, and it's that trench style low roof. And I love, every once in a while, Andy, behind you, this picture, that one right there, perfect timing, comes up, but it's functional, it looks amazing, the styling lines, those tough lines that go right on through the hood, up through that low roof. I think it was so well executed and it's a real tell of the product. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think we'd love it, and I wish actually this truck didn't have a sun visor on it. It's the first time I've ever said that, because usually, historically, we always put sun visors. I think Edge would agree with that, Sir Star.
Yeah, it looks
but
better
this
without.
actually, this truck looks better without
It
a
does.
sun visor.
It looks
believe it or not. And I
completely badass.
Never thought I would see
and
it.
you know, I know as part of the trench style low roof journey, there was a lot of pain in that design direction and decision too. And the first time I walked in and saw it on a real product, it was like, that's right. There's like there's something about that design element where it is right, it's perfect, and that one gives me, it makes my heart race, and it gives me tingles.
I would agree, it's a fantastic design element here. I mean, it's one of the purest elements where it actually performs, and because it performs, it looks the way it does, and that look makes it cool, right?
Yeah.
So when you do all that together and it's aligned, it's like, yeah, that's what makes the truck great. So I agree, that's a fantastic part as well.
Well, I think that's a solid place to stop this
Yeah.
thing. So I think that's great, you guys. Again, thank you. We will be doing this more, guys. We'll see you again soon in the future. So remember, Western Star, westernstar.com. You can follow us on social media as well. You'll be able to find these podcasts in a number of different places. We'll see you soon. Guys, thank you very much. And
Thank you. Stay
long
tough.
live tough.